The dimmest bulb in the Broncos organization has been replaced. Talking about the dumbass in Sports Authority Field. Sports Authority couldn't afford to keep the naming rights in bankruptcy, but stadium management says it can't afford to have the Sports Authority sign looking half-assed. A spokesman said they decided to back that S up because, quote, while there are no plans to officially rebrand the stadium in this interim period, it is important for us to make sure it looks presentable at all times. Florida is a model of how to get people out of town in a hurry. Its hurricane evacuation doubtlessly saved lives. It got us thinking about Denver's plan, should our metro area ever need to be evacuated. Thankfully, our potential disasters of that scale don't occur annually with the weather. But our Marshall Zellinger asked, should the unthinkable happen, a terror attack or an industrial accident, where are the exits?
Every day, hazardous materials go up and down the rail line, right next to the stadium, right next to Pepsi Center, right through Elitch Gardens.
Ryan Broughton doesn't mean to be a buzzkill. He's the head of Denver's Office of Emergency Management. And while we'll never have to evacuate from a hurricane in Denver, he's the guy in the basement of the city and county building who has to plan for the worst.
We look at what's most consequential. So we would be looking at, for example, a train derailment. We also have about 230 facilities within Denver that use hazardous materials in great quantity.
Raise your hand if you know where you're supposed to evacuate if you're told to get out of the city. Not where you want to go, but where you're supposed to go.
The best example is that Broadway and Colfax is the center of the city.
Picture it like a clock. Northeast goes 76 or 70. Southeast goes 70, Highway 83 or 25. Southwest goes south to 25. Northwest goes 36, 287 or 25. You don't go west because of congestion in the mountains. With the city only able to handle about 34,000 cars an hour, any guesses how long it would take to evacuate a 25-mile radius of the Denver metro area? Guess now, I'm about to play the answer.
So the evacuation clearance time for our city is 18 or 19 hours if we assume 3 to 4 people in every vehicle. A lot more if there's only one person in the vehicle. About 40 hours.
And for those heading to the Broncos game tonight, the team won't tell us its emergency plan for, quote, security reasons. But don't worry, Ryan's got our number.
So I can draw on a map a circle around the Broncos Stadium, for example, identify they should either shelter in place or evacuate, and then provide that to every mobile device within that geographic area.
If you were wondering, like I was, I've never given my phone number to the city's Office of Emergency Management. How are they going to tell me if I'm at the Broncos game that I'm in an emergency situation? It's treated just like an Amber Alert, and it's that wireless system, so you don't have to sign up for anything. It's based on location.
A good thing that they've improved the Wi-Fi situation there at the stadium. And people are going to say, listen, we're not in a hurricane zone. Don't worry about this kind of thing. But they're actively planning a lot of facilities in town.
And they want signage, because we asked the question. There's nothing that says, take this route for evacuation. They want us to know ahead of time, because we had the floods a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
There's unexpected things will happen.
Like the clock system, highways, state highways. Interesting. Marshall, thank you. Not all artists suffer for their craft. Some are actually really happy people. Our Ann Herbst found a class where folks pay tribute to a painter who is the happiest of them all.
You might not be Monet. Your brush strokes might not invoke Van Gogh. But there's a place in Denver where you can be a famous artist.
We're gonna get started.
If just for one night.
We're here to paint happy trees, happy clouds.
Mr. Bob Ross.
I am Bob Ross.
I'm going to teach you how to paint this gorgeous painting Bob Ross style.
Cherry Creek's Canvas and Cocktails transforms into a happy little studio once a month.
It's going to give you a gorgeous avocado color.
A tribute to the PBS painting star from the 80s and 90s.
You're wearing wigs, for goodness sake, you guys, okay?
Yes, it makes a good holding place.
Tortured artist he was not.
So Bob Ross says, make love to your canvas.
You'd never catch him cutting off an ear.
This is how you paint happy trees. Are you ready?
Happy trees.
Here's a happy little tree.
Can you guess why he was always happy? Wasn't he always stoned?
What does Bob Ross say? There are only happy mistakes. Yes, you guys.
It's no mistake.
Squiggle, 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 squiggle.
These nights are one of the business's most popular.
I grew up as a kid, and I would sit with my coloring book, and I would color like he did on his paintings, and I tried to be Bob Ross.
He's always about going with the flow and creating your own world. And
So let's go with the flow. And end this story the way Bob Ross would.
he'd say God bless, but he'd wave his hand like this, kind of. He'd say thank you and God bless.
For next. This is Ann Herbst.
Canvas and Cocktails say they have 2,000 wigs on order, so many more Bob Ross classes in the future. Broncos had enough empty seats at Mile High last night to accommodate every man, woman, and child in Keensburg, or in Elizabeth, or in Georgetown. It was 1,432 unused tickets for Monday Night Football. But that game was considered a sellout, extending the Broncos' NFL best single-season sellout streak that dates back to 1970. And here is why. So sporting events don't typically sell out every single seat, even for what is considered a sellout. Tickets that are distributed, given away, those count as tickets sold under the NFL's rules. We're talking tickets given to players, the media, other partner organizations, and the allotment that's given to the opposing team. The Broncos told us today that on average, 97% of tickets are sold. 3% are distributed. Now, the Chargers, they returned hundreds of tickets from their distributed allotment. Those tickets were then put up for sale, but even if they never sold, they counted toward the sellout because they had been distributed. And if ticket scalpers end up sitting on tickets that they can't resell, those still count as sold tickets for the purposes of a sellout. Now, the Broncos correctly point out that they voluntarily announced the number of unused tickets, those no-shows who were booed for failing to fill a seat, even if there never was a specific person ever expected to be there. Park County does not yet have a price tag for the cleanup job that they did on the plot of land that belonged to the flagman of South Park. But we did learn today that there were 1,005 flags in total that were taken down, retired, with the help of the American Legion. Flags were part of the big display of stuff that Steve Badigian had meant as a memorial to his father's service to the country. Neighbors considered it an eyesore and trash. County agreed, so did a court. So they showed up with a warrant to clean it up. They hauled off 11 large dumpsters full of material. That included the tent that Badigian was living in. He had turned down an earlier offer to clean up everything for free. So the flagman is going to get a bill for that cleanup work, likely to be more than $10,000. So whether you like it or not, Colorado's going to make a play for Amazon's second headquarters. You don't get a vote in this. City and state leaders are going to put together this delicious package of corporate welfare and goodies and try to lure in the thousands of jobs and the billions of dollars in investment. You do get a vote here, though. You log on to 9news.com/vote now. Amazon to Denver. Up, down, sideways, need more information? You heard the mayor on here pitching the good of it. Our Steve Steger talked to someone with experience with the tech boom's bad side.
Be careful what you wish for, Amazon suitors. A catchy headline with a serious warning for cities like Denver from someone who knew Seattle before and after Amazon's boom.
You cannot imagine the rapid change to this city when it comes to the buildings that are going up, the traffic that is on our streets, the number of people that are in restaurants, in line, wherever they are.
Kurt Schlosser with GeekWire moved to Seattle 21 years ago. The boom started about 10 years later.
You ask people who have been here a long time, I don't think they're overly excited about the changes. It's a beautiful place with a lot of beautiful scenery, and a lot of that's being blocked out by new tall buildings and apartment buildings.
Sound familiar to you? The housing situation might too. Seattle is now the nation's hottest housing market. GeekWire says year over year, prices increased by 12% there. Kelly Moy is with the Colorado Association of Realtors.
We already have incredibly low inventory.
With Amazon employees making an average of $100,000 as projected, she says they won't be looking in the already crowded areas of the Colorado market. But
if our sweet spot right now is $350,000 and under, all of a sudden, if we have an influx of buyers who can afford a little more, that sweet spot might quickly jump to, say, $500,000 and under.
At the end of the day, the economic boom would be great. But Schlosser says the people making the decisions have to consider the whole impact.
I think there is such a rush to prove to your constituents that you can lure jobs that sometimes you forget about the people that are left behind in that process.
So we asked the Denver mayor's office today if they've heard from anyone opposed to the Amazon move. They say they've only received 2 letters opposed to that idea. And if you don't like the idea, they say, you should write to the mayor and to the city council. And in that piece, they talk about mass transit and how Seattle is trying to catch up with a booming population right now. And Kurt actually says that if a city is going to try to do this, they ought to take one step ahead and try to get something in place before Amazon moves in.
And in terms of what people think about this, we'll check in throughout next, but folks are pretty evenly split between the idea of bringing Amazon in or saying it's a bad idea. I respect the folks who say I need more information on this.
Yeah.
You know, because the fact is there's been a lot of hype and we're just getting into the details now. So Steve, thank you.
Well, thousands of people will take a walk this weekend. A mission that has a lofty goal built right into the title, the Walk to End Alzheimer's. It's tomorrow morning at City Park. And in the crowd, you'll find a man who's no stranger to the finish line, even if his memory of it is starting to fade away. So how was lunch?
I didn't have lunch.
You didn't have any lunch?
No,
yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, you did. You just ate lunch, you had fish.
Yeah, fish.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
fish. Yeah, well, sure. But I mean, that's what you had to have.
So Dad noticed having memory problems before we did even. We thought, my brother and I thought that maybe he was just getting older and forgetting things.
It was fun because I was so skinny. And then these guys come around and they're big, isn't it? Big.
He grew up in La Junta, Colorado, and he was on the basketball team, obviously. He won the state tournament, or the team won the state tournament in 1949.
Yeah.
And they weren't expected to win. I don't know what it is. Dad just always has to be active. I don't know if it was just growing up, he always was, but ever since I can remember, Dad's been active.
Oh my God, the basketball.
Yeah, I used to play basketball.
Oh gee, this is, I got 3 of these.
Right.
Tigers, yeah, yeah. Here it is right here.
How old are you in that?
Well, I don't know. I just got those things, guys, there.
The hardest part is he ate well, he's healthy, he was a runner, you know, and yet he got dementia, so you just, you know, you don't know. It was a surprise. So, you know, you just don't know who it's going to affect.
Yeah, I said pretty good.
Yeah.
I was.
Every once in a while I see the dad before dementia. I mean, there's moments.
What?
He's making it go.
And they're fleeting, but, you know, I can see it. He'll remember something, he'll start talking about it. Somebody or something in his life. So that's, you know, it's still in there someplace. They just can't get to it.
She's lovely.
Many of you out there are probably thinking, that's sad, but it doesn't impact me. I'd be surprised if it really didn't. But I'll be frank with you, I used to think the same way. Then my dad, at 66 years old, was diagnosed with dementia last year. I was standing in a room today, I thought I could get through this, with 3 other people, and we could all name someone in our lives who'd been impacted by this disease. It's a monster, and it continues to grow and hurt more than just those with a diagnosis. So if you can't make it out for the walk tomorrow, I hope you'll join me tomorrow on the morning show for a thoughtful conversation about the disease and the people it impacts. 69,000 Coloradans struggle with Alzheimer's disease. As we step away, I'll look at some of the names you shared with us of those who struggle with it every day.